everybody. Welcome to another episode of Inbound Now. I'm your host, David Wells, and joined with me today is a very special guest, Mr. Marcus Sheridan. Marcus runs River Pools and Spas and thesalesline.com and is a fantastic real-world example of how inbound marketing actually works. It does work. It's not all hocus pocus. And I wanted to get Marcus on the show today to basically dive into how inbound marketing helped his business and a presentation that he gave at Inbound 2012 that I thought was phenomenal. So welcome to the show, Marcus.
Dude, what's up? Thanks for having me, and I'm all jacked up and ready to talk, and I got as much time as you need. So you fire the questions away, and I'll fire some answers off.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So, Marcus, you start out most of your presentations telling kind of the incredible journey of how your business, River Pools and Spas, was kind of struggling, and you weren't really sure where to take it in a marketing sense. Can you tell us a little bit more of the background story of how inbound marketing helped River Pools and Spas and turn things around?
Yeah, man. And I tell that story always to start for a couple of reasons, because I want people to realize I'm just like them. I'm not just some quote guru, which I can't stand that word, by the way, but I'm not some guy that speaks of theory all day long and hasn't done anything in terms of practice. I don't think we talk enough about real life examples in this industry. And everything we talk about when it comes to social media, when it comes to inbound marketing, in my opinion, needs to be real, right? And so here's the reality of my situation. When the housing market crashed, people didn't have enough equity in their homes to buy swimming pools, and that's what I do. Well, I have a company that does that. I don't do that anymore. I talk about this stuff with people like you all day long now. But
Right.
I used to just have the swimming pool company, right? And so with that, there was a period of time when the housing market crashed overnight, we lost 4 deposits on in-ground pool customers, jobs that we had in the bag. And then over the coming months, this is the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, we were tanking it. We were in huge trouble. March of 2009, I read an article about HubSpot. I just stumble into them, and everything immediately just makes sense. And in my mind, David, this is the way that I saw it. If I was willing to teach people and answer their questions about fiberglass swimming pools and anything that had to do with a fiberglass swimming pool, I would be successful. I didn't look at it beyond that. And so we signed up for HubSpot. I started a blog on our website, of course, and I took every question that I've ever been asked. Essentially, that was the title of a post, and I answered it. And at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, I sat on my kitchen table and I typed stuff. And I wasn't really good at it, but Google didn't care, dude, because somebody was finally answering questions that nobody else was willing to answer. And so within a year and a half, we've blown up, and 3 years later, we're the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. It saved the business. We get tons of traffic leads and sales now. I mean, because of it, it's unbelievable. That's the long story made really, really short. But it wouldn't have happened had we not been incredibly transparent, had we not just come right out. And to give you an example, well, I don't want to steal your thunder on those seven tip things.
Right.
But nobody had ever answered the question of how much a fiberglass pool costs. It's like, that's the first question everybody has when they want to buy one of these dang pools. But nobody had answered the question on their website. So we answered it, and we ranked number 1 for every fiberglass pool cost related phrase known to man. And because of that, we started getting tons of traffic. Some of that traffic turned into leads, and a whole bunch of it turned into sales. And boom! But that's how we saw it. We didn't sit there. There's a golden rule to inbound and content marketing, brother. This is the golden rule. They ask, you answer. That's the rule. You are not allowed to interpret that rule other than just that. So if you've had a customer that has asked you a question And if you don't have it on your site, I am of the opinion, David, that you're doing them an incredible disservice, and you're essentially inviting them to leave your house and go to your competitor's house and buy stuff there, which I ain't down with, man. Why do we invite people to go to our competitors' websites? Because when we ignore their questions, like the ostrich with the head in the sand, you know ostriches, right? Head in the sand. They think they're so stupid because they think when they pull their head back out of the sand, the problem will no longer be there. That ain't how it works. And a lot of business owners feel like, well, I can't address this particular question right now because I just got to wait till I'm talking to them face to face. All we're doing is pretending the problem doesn't exist, and we end up inviting them to leave because we become so impatient online. You and me, everybody listen to this right now, brother. If we don't find an answer immediately, boom, we are gone. We're off that website. We're on somebody else's. And that's a big problem, and we've all got to fix it. We've all got to fix it. So I know I just was kind of I'm running on, and I got to have you talk a little bit. So my apologies, but I'm passionate about this stuff, man. You know how it is.
You know, answering those questions and answering the hard questions, right? So like putting cost on a website, especially if you're a B2B company, is a scary prospect to a lot of companies out there because they're very high ticket items. Just like a swimming pool, let's say, you know, it's a multi-$1,000 deal. So, you know, how, like you're saying that they should just kind of put it all out there. Otherwise their competitor and they're going to pull in that traffic regardless, or, you know, what would you speak to those people that are afraid?
Couple things, brother. If you go on Google right now and you type in fiberglass pool cost or how much does a fiberglass pool cost, you're going to land, of course, on the article that I wrote. You're going to read it, and you still won't know exactly how much a fiberglass pool costs. But you're going to have a feel for how much it costs because I addressed the question. See, what people don't, this is where they screw up. It's not about necessarily answering the question. You have to be willing to address the question. Google rewards the addressor, not necessarily the answerer. In other words, you can actually answer questions on your site, but people they won't find it because of the way it's situated. The smart way to do it is you list all the questions people have. It's a single page of your site. It's a single blog post, however you want to do it. And that is the answer. But you don't have to put your friggin' price list on there. No. And see, you mentioned something really important, David, and we got to clarify this. Another golden rule, and that is you never make a marketing decision based out of fear. Okay? So in other words, you don't say things like, well, if we do this, our competitors might find out what our prices are. Or our competitors might see how we manufacture things. Or our competitors might see the way that our operations work, and that would be so bad. Because who are we afraid of? Our competitors or losing potential clients and customers, right? So the person that is allowing fear to dictate their marketing says things like, well, these bad things will happen. The person that doesn't give a rip about fear and is only concerned with being the greatest teacher in the world at what they do, they allow the golden rule to be their guiding light, which is they ask, therefore we answer.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I mean, a lot of people will gate away they think that whatever their business is, they want to hide that information until the client is actually paying them, let's say. Whereas, you know, the more that you give away, the more traffic you're going to get into your site, the more you're going to be kind of viewed as that thought leader in your space, right? And, you know, business kind of comes out of that. Would you agree?
Dude, you know, people ask me all the time, they're like, how do you make any money on the sales line? I don't see how you make any money on there. I have not discussed so far how much money I make on the sales line, but the sales line is easily a six-figure business. I mean, it's a very, very big business, and I give away an ebook that's 250 pages, and it took me 2 years to write, and everybody can't figure it out. Dude, I'm not looking to make $20 a pop. That's not my business model. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have any problem with ebooks, or selling ebooks, excuse me. But my goal from a business standpoint, my goal is not to sell ebooks. My goal is to garner clients, to generate sales of my services. So I'm not worried about $20. I just want everybody to read the dang thing. Right. If you read 250 pages of my thoughts, words, experiences, by the end, it's almost like we're married. We're engaged at least, man. You are not going to get a quote from other marketing guy that you might have been thinking about. It's kind of like this. You got to look at, let's say each client, when you get a client, it's like you're getting married, right? And to get married to somebody, generally you got to have a certain number of dates. Every time somebody reads a page of your site, that's like one more date that you've gone on. Right. And so with me, they've gone on whole lots of dates, man. They love what they see. So you got the guy that they've dated 10 times. They've dated me 250 times. Who are they going to marry? That might sound arrogant. There's nothing arrogant about it. This is available to every business. Dude, let me tell you what. 3.5 years ago, when I started producing content for River Pools, our website was 20 pages long. Today, it's 850. Now, take a guess, David. Take a guess what our average page views per customer this year is. How many pages of the site they have viewed? If you were just an average Joe, because you might know this, because I might have told you already. Yeah, but if you were an average Joe,
30 or so? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the magic number where they typically tip and start totally getting into it. But the actual total average page views is about 110 this year. And you know what else, brother? It's going to grow, and it's going to be higher than that next year. It's going to be higher than that for two reasons. Number one, I'll have more content on the site. Number two, each year, every day, we become more engrossed in this information age. It's the education economy, man. We like to be so dang informed by the time we buy stuff. And even on cheap stuff, we like to be dang informed. Like if you're going to buy a $100 set of headphones, you'll go and you'll read stinking 20 pages on 5 review sites just to make sure you bought the best set of headphones. Is Bose worth it? Bose versus whatever. Right. You know what I'm saying? We do that stuff, and it's $100. It's $100. My product average for the pool site's $50,000. For my marketing company, you know, it ranges. It could be in the thousands to a whole lot more than that. I mean, but my point is, people, if you do give it, this is what I know. All or nothing, dude. If they come to your site and they can't find it, they're more impatient than ever. But if they come to your site and they do find it, they'll stay there, they'll love you, and they'll stay for a long, long time. So even though they're more impatient, they're more patient and willing to invest time when they feel like they've hit the information jackpot.
Gotcha. And it gives them a reason to come back, right, at a later date and kind of continue that dating cycle, right, into becoming a client.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just more dates, man. Just more dates.
So cool. So the presentation that you gave at Inbound 2012 was awesome. I don't know, were those recorded? I hope so, because you're pretty hilarious. You have a very unique speaking style where you just kind of go crazy, and it's just funny. If you haven't seen Marcus speak and he's going to a conference, I'd highly recommend checking him out to all those watching. But what you did that I really liked was you broke down like blogging for different companies there into really digestible and actionable chunks. And it wasn't a lot of like fluff pie in the sky, like do a lot of keyword research and do this and do that. And one of the things that you mentioned, and you talked about it a little bit earlier, was when we're doing that we're doing that research for what's the best headphones, we're searching for Bose versus Dr. Dre Beats or whatever the headphones are these days. But can you speak a little bit more to that? So like versus posts and how you've leveraged those.
Dude, I've killed it on versus posts. I've killed it on best posts. Let me tell you, every industry has certain key word elements that are followed by everyone. Okay? I don't care if you're B2B, B2C, if you're a product, if you're a service, if you're big or small, national, local. No excuses here. Applies to all your listeners. The thing about it is this. Everybody wants to know how much stuff costs. If you haven't written articles about how much the stuff costs, then you've screwed up. For every product or separate service that you sell, you should have an article about how much it costs, right? So let me give you an example. For a product, fiberglass pools. I'm number one for that because I actually addressed it. Let me give you another example of a service. HubSpot. Well, kind of a software, kind of a hybrid. But do you realize as many HubSpot partners as there are, almost none of them have singular pages on their site dedicated to how much does HubSpot cost? Do you realize that, David? You're probably one of those ding-dongs that don't have it too. And so, if you go and type in how much does HubSpot cost online right now, HubSpot's number one, but guess who's number two?
You.
Me. And I shouldn't be number one. But I actually answered this stinking question. Okay, so let me give you another example. Problems. When people start to become close to buying something, they want to know if it's got any problems, especially as competition talks bad about it. So they'll always type in such and such problems, right?
Right.
Again, same two examples. If you meet with concrete pool guy, you meet with fiberglass pool guy, he's going to talk about your fiberglass pools, about all the problems with them, so you're going to be freaked out. You're going to go to your search engine, you're going to type in fiberglass pool problems. Well, we wrote an article about fiberglass pool problems. In other words, we confronted the problem of problems before the competition even got a chance to do it. And of course, it's number one on Google. It gets thousands, at least 10,000 views a year for that. It's my number one lead generating keyword phrase on river pools other than river pools. Fiberglass pool problems is my number one keyword lead generating phrase.
Right.
And that's because
you're addressing the problem, pulling people into your site, and you're controlling the message. And obviously you are answering their questions, right? But it's like they're in your home base rather than, on, multiple other sites or competitors even.
That's what you just said is the key to everything I have explained and will explain in this interview. My only goal, David, is to get them in my house. That's the only goal, my house, my website. That's the only goal. Because when they're in my house, I control the party. When they're in somebody else's house, I have no luck. I have no rights. I've lost hope. Okay? And so that's all I care about. Now, so for like problems, I come right out and say, fiberglass pools might not be for you. Might not be for you. And people immediately say, oh, daggone, this guy's actually not selling me a load of bull. He's being for real. That's pretty sweet. At the same time, there's another group that are saying, okay, it might not be for me. Well, who's it for? Because I kind of want to be in the group that it's for. You go online right now and you type in problems with HubSpot or HubSpot problems. How many VARs have written about HubSpot problems? You got 500 VARs that are talking about HubSpot and trying to sell it. How many have talked about specifically problems with HubSpot?
Yeah, probably not that many. I know you wrote a post, WordPress for HubSpot. I thought that was interesting.
Of course. Wait, can't get to that one yet. I wrote a post about problems with HubSpot too, because people want to know. Let's do versus now, okay? Versus is huge. You should compare your product or your service with every single competing product or service in the world. So, for example, if you sell Ford, you should compare Ford with every other manufacturer in separate articles. Then you should compare every Ford model with every competing model of other manufacturers. And you don't have to necessarily integrate your opinion. You can just say the facts. Just like if you are comparing a concrete pool with a fiberglass pool, you are going to go online and type in concrete versus fiberglass pools, or compare fiberglass pools with concrete pools, or which is better, concrete or fiberglass pools.
Right.
Of course, I'm going to be the guy that shows up every time because I've actually addressed the question with a post. I used to always get the question, just like you just mentioned, what's the difference between WordPress and HubSpot? Which is better? Well, they're really not the same thing. Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't think that you should even, why would you write that? Well, I wrote it because people ask me the question all the time. And if you go online and you type in HubSpot versus WordPress, I'm going to be 1 or 2 on Google. It's no secret behind any of this. It's a willingness to listen well. Let's do best. I love best, by the way. I used to have people tell me all the time, this is a good one for local SEO too, man. Okay, local SEO tip coming up right now. So I used to have people say to me when I was just a pool guy, Marcus, we like you a lot, but who are some of the best pool builders in this area? Like, who's some of the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? They'd ask me that, right? Well, most companies, because they're so silly, they act like the competitor doesn't exist. That's the ostrich with his head in the sand, you know what I mean? So instead of being the ostrich, you ought to come right out and say. And so I wrote an article. Remember, they ask, I answer. So the article was, who are the best swimming pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? And I listed 5. And now, when you type in reviews and you list that competitor, Richmond, Virginia, I'm showing up for their keyword phrases. I'm also showing up number 1 for the phrase, who are the best pool builders, Richmond, Virginia. And furthermore, after I knocked that one out of the park and it was number 1 for all those keywords, I said, who are the best pool builders in Virginia Beach? Who are the best swimming pool builders in Fredericksburg? Who are the best swimming pool builders in Northern Virginia? Who are the best swimming pool builders in Southern Maryland? And on, just like a consumer would ask.
So in these posts, are you giving a pretty fair assessment, or is it your opinion on, all right, these guys are good, or was it like, oh, we're the best, but these are also good? Like, how did you phrase that? Because I think a lot of people could get that wrong.
So this goes back to addressing versus answering the question. I have not specifically in any of those said, well, these are the best. What I have said is, these are some of the builders that we compete with on a consistent basis that have a long history. And then when I list the company name, I take the information from their about page, word for word, and put it in there. That's what I do. So I'll say, such and such company is in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They specialize in concrete pools, and they also do a lot of automatic pool covers. So I never said they were good or bad. I just said what they do. No different than if you're comparing a Ford and a Chevy. You ain't got to say Ford socks, Chevy socks. You just say Ford has this size engine in their Mustang. The Chevy Camaro has this size engine, this much horsepower. It's very easy to compare products. It's easy to compare services. It's easy to compare software. Things like that.
Right.
That's the type of stuff consumers care about, David. And it's applicable to every industry in the world, brother. And I've had, to give you an example, you're one of the people you used to work with at HubSpot, Yale Appliance.
Yep.
Love my boy Steve at Yale. Steve his blog wasn't growing like he wanted it to. And I looked at it and I asked him one simple question, David. I said, Steve, what is your keyword goal for all these articles? And I listed the last 20 articles that he had written. And he couldn't answer the question. And I said, well, that's why you're flunking out of blog school. And if you want to be really successful, you have to have a keyword goal for all your articles if you're going to be really aggressive as a business. If you don't have a bunch of subscribers and you're really trying to target this for SEO and stuff like that, think like a consumer, long tail keywords, all that junk. Right. And so the main place we started is he sells literally like a couple thousand products. He focuses on kitchen appliances. So you think he sells 10 different styles of grills. Well, he compares every one in an article. For example, in refrigerators and all this, Viking refrigerators versus Genair, which is better? You cannot go online now, David, and type in a versus phrase for kitchen appliances without running into my boy Steve. And he has literally on his last 100 and some articles, he has been on the first page of Google for the keyword he was targeting since we talked, I think something like 95% of the time. It's some ridiculous number, man. His sales are better than ever. He's just crushing it in a time when economies are slower. And he's going to be ahead of his industry. And what's going to happen one of these days, stinking Frigidaire and Viking and GE, all these multi-billion-dollar companies, are going to wake up and are going to realize that some dude in Boston owns their industry in terms of consumer influence because he was answering the questions that people really wanted to know.
Yep. Yeah.
You feel me, man?
They've definitely been killing it in terms of organic traffic, and I wanted to talk to you about that in this interview. So you went to go visit Steve and his team, and to basically talk about blogging. After you left, basically now their like entire sales team is blogging and contributing to the company's site, and it's helping tremendously. Like, what did you do to fire up that, like, his sales team and the other people that work at Yale Appliance? What did you say to them? Because it seems like it was magic.
All right, here's the mistake that everybody makes, David. They have somebody in the marketing department or in management that gets the grand idea to start producing content and blogging, and they send out an email to the staff that says, hey, y'all, let's start blogging. And nobody understands why. It makes no sense to them. It doesn't matter if you say it's going to really help us generate traffic, leads, and sales. It doesn't help. So what I do is I go in and I help establish cultures of inbound and content marketing because I teach the depth core reasons of the what is inbound marketing. How do you do it effectively? Just like we've been talking about. How? You think exactly like a consumer. And then why do we do it? How does it affect me as the employee? How will it help me to make more money as an employee? How will it help me to support my team members within the company, within the organization? How will it help the company as a whole? If somebody can clearly see that vision, then all of a sudden it makes sense. And they're like, man, I want to be a part of this because it's special. And everybody wants to be a part of a winner. Everybody wants to be a part of a winner. That's why people go to HubSpot and take a lot less money to work there because they like being a part of a movement, of something that's special.
Right.
Same thing when it comes to producing content. And I guess that's probably why you left HubSpot, huh, man? They weren't paying you enough bills? Sorry, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was time, and we're still friends. We're still friends at HubSpot. I still use HubSpot, so it's a great tool.
I'm just picking, brother. I know you're a HubSpot guy. As am I.
Awesome. So let's see. So I guess, I mean, this is probably the longest interview we've done on Inbound Now. So congratulations, you won the world record. But I definitely wanted to get you back on the show on a later date. But Marcus, where can people find you online?
Yeah, just type in the Sales Lion or Sales Lion, Lion. So thesaleslion.com. Got a free ebook there that rocks your socks. It's right there. You'll see it as soon as you get to the homepage, man. Free. It's awesome. So come there, check it out, read it, and then read the blog because a lot of other people read it, and it's good stuff, bro.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to write a blog post the Sales Lion versus Inbound Now, and I'm going to own that space. So
Own it. Take that keyword as yours, my man.
But yeah, well, thanks for your time, Marcus. I really appreciate it. I think you are a dynamic speaker, and I wish you all the best. And I want to get you back on the show at a later date. Stay tuned, and yeah.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Cool.